And hello, welcome back to World End Economica. My name is Silkysaurus and we're about to enter the Chinese restaurant that we always frequent. Let's go get some Chinese food. The Chinese restaurant is run by a Chinese husband and wife with a strong spirit of enterprise who emigrated to the moon. I could sit down here from an early afternoon to whenever and they wouldn't say a word. However, the elderly wife's health had been fading recently, and the woman who sometimes worked at the restaurant in their place was a bit of a pain. Well, I prayed that she wouldn't be there today. It was in vain, especially on an already unlucky day full of policemen and stock losses. As I opened the frosted glass door, the woman, watching the television placed near the ceiling with her head resting in her arms propped up on the counter, lowered her glance listlessly. While I was overcome with the urge to just shut the door and go to another store, that woman raised her voice before I got the chance. Table for one! The kitchen was run by the silent, stubborn, elderly husband of the family, so he never showed any signs of affection. Of course, no reply came from the kitchen. Even so, it was too late to leave, so I entered the store with a heavy gate and set up camp in a corner seat. While mountains of hydrocarbons sat at the moon's poles, they still couldn't be used for luxuries such as making plastic. As a result, most of the store's equipment was made from either wood or iron, and both could be gathered on the moon, and both were easily decomposable by microbes when thrown away. An iron cup was placed with a clang on my tattered wooden table, which was no doubt found in a dump somewhere. The woman, beaming, then poured me water from high up. The water seemed like it would splash out, but all stayed in the now perfectly filled cup. You showed up, you delinquent! Crab omelet over fried rice. I made my order bluntly without a proper reply. The woman was about 20 years old and had bright, healthy hair. She had been working here for a while and seemed to know a lot about the customers, so she probably lived near the area. One crab fried! The woman yelled cheerfully towards the kitchen. Then, of all the things she could have done, she sat down across from me. No! I mean, yes! Except her body was off to the side and her vision was fixed on the TV. She seemed interested in some plot point in the drama she was watching. I heard that the actor there is in the next room. I heard that the actor there is in the area right now. He's going to negotiate his next title and bask in space at the same time. A beautiful actress from around here is accompanying him. I didn't ask, but she informed me anyway. I ended up glancing at the screen as I silently took my PC out of my bag. He's a little too handsome, though. While that might be true, I stifled my urge to reply with a "so what" as I placed my PC on the table and switched it on. The PC was loaded up with financial information and charts of historical prices for the 4,000 stocks on the Lunar Stock Exchange. In order to make a profit tomorrow, I had to find my next target. Oh! Want to use our power? I raised my glance after being asked that question and found my eyes meeting the woman's. She had beautiful almond-shaped eyes that were even brighter in color than her hair. She must have had an easy life, I thought to myself. Nevertheless, it'd be helpful if I could use the restaurant's electricity. Even if I did decide to go back to that half-assed net cafe, the rates were cheaper at night. The problem was that my battery might not last until then. I silently took out my adapter and plugged it into the cord that the woman, still seated, had lazily dragged my way with her foot. As I hugged the ground in order to plug my adapter into the outlet, the woman mischievously twitched the toes in her sandals. Ew. Perv. That was what she said to me once I raised my head, but she wasn't even wearing a skirt. Naturally, I ignored it and booted up my PC. After that, the woman stopped messing with me, and the only sounds in the restaurant were the filtered voices from the television and the swinging pots in the kitchen. This was a quiet area without much foot traffic, and it felt like time passed slowly here. The thing that made me go far out of my way to come here, other than the fact that they wouldn't report me to the cops, was this sense of tranquility. What did you eat yesterday? Oh wait, that wasn't girly enough. What did you eat yesterday? Well, it was pretty tranquil until the woman suddenly asked me the question. What did I have to eat yesterday that had anything to do with you? I ignored her as I stared at my screen, but she wouldn't stop looking at me. Her face, visible from the corner eye, didn't make it look like she was particularly interested in my question, but she wouldn't turn away. Defeated, I raised my glance, and at that moment she grinned. Pasta. I answered, then turned back to my screen. I updated my data while I was in the cafe, so I searched for any corporate news that might affect the market in the next few days. From where? From where? Actually, maybe I can do that voice. From where? As I clicked my tongue, the woman's smile, as expected, disappeared. She didn't get mad or stand up, though. That doesn't suit you, you know? She said this so seriously that instead of getting mad, I ended up blushing. She's treating me like a complete child. Big Bull Cafe. It was an arrogantly named place for a nearly illegal operation. You see, bulls were a symbol of strong markets. For that reason, there are bronze bulls placed in front of the biggest financial districts in the world, like America's Wall Street or Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So for me, the place was good luck. Oh, so Sirot's handmade pasta. Sirot? Wasn't there a really skinny guy there? That guy owns that place. Owns the... I was a little heartbroken at those words. I was sure that he was some loser who worked there by the hour, but to be the owner of a store, big or small, was a fine example of a capitalist. Not only that, I was heartbroken to hear that I was eating his pasta. I mean, it was good. I taught him how to make those. The woman beamed with pride. Wait, if she taught him, then where did they know each other from? Don't tell me they used to be lovers. As I dreamed up juicy scenarios in my head. Ew! Ew! I stared vacantly at her face as she turned back to the television. So was that lunch or dinner? Huh? Did you eat that for lunch or dinner? I didn't have the slightest idea as why she was asking for all these details. It was probably because of some stupid made-for-woman horoscope that she watched every day. I bet it was something like, if you ask a boy you meet today what and where he ate for each meal yesterday, your lucky color is yellow and your lucky word is optimism. Dinner. What about lunch? I had set out to click my tongue, but after being told straight-faced that didn't suit me, I ended up holding back. That woman might have noticed this fact because she was grinning slightly. I answered after telling her in my mind to shut up. I didn't eat it. Really? This time I didn't keep myself from clicking my tongue, or from getting angry for that matter. Why she wanted to know these things in such detail completely baffled me. Maybe because she likes you! Only someone who likes you would ask these questions and interested. What do you care? Right as I turned her question around on her, a plate of fried rice hit the counter with a thud. The woman stood up and brought the plate over. Then, right as I thought that she was going to place it on my table, she kept the plate in her hand and looked down at me. You really didn't eat anything for lunch? And to show her that I was trying my hardest not to click my tongue, I started to scrape my upper lip with my teeth. No, I didn't. I don't eat lunch on weekdays. What about today? Today is an exception, since I was driven out of the cafe at a weird time. So what? Anyways, give me my food that you're just holding there. Eating a proper lunch was always special to me, since I usually only do it on Sundays, when the Lunar Stock Exchange is closed. Yep. Eating lunch on the weekday was rare. As I glared at the woman, she heaved a small sigh and placed the plate on the table, completely unperturbed. The smell of the sweet and sour whetted my appetite. My interest shifted from the now strangely annoying woman's questions to the food in front of me. You need to eat 3 real meals a day, boy. The woman talked to me while standing and staring at me, digging into the fried rice. And eat a little more neatly, okay? Mind your own business, I muttered mentally as I piled a mountain of fried rice and crab omelet on my spoon and shoved it all in my mouth. Just shove it into my mouth. What? The woman sighed and then returned listlessly to her counter-side chair. What a cryptic, stupid woman. I focused on my food, stuffing my stomach with such vigor that I barely had time to even sigh. Like that? After filling my stomach with fried rice, I ordered the ayu jelly, a sweet and sour gelatinous dish. It was unusual to see this dessert around here, but it was definitely delicious, even if a little expensive. Since today was a cursed day, I thought this just might be the exorcism I needed. You got the money, right? The woman doubted after I made my order, but of course I had enough money to have a regular meal. You could rent a cheap apartment for 400 mules a month, so I could live on my own pretty easily. The reason I actually couldn't was because there weren't any places a minor with no guarantor could rent. I heard that on Earth, people in my situation were sometimes able to make it happen. Unfortunately, lunar cities were only accessible via orbital elevator, so everyone's identity was known. Whoops. If I went to rent a house, they'd immediately run my fingerprints through an iris scan, and then contact my parents. Unless you were an extraterrestrial, if you're on the moon, they know who you are and where you came from. Have I ever stiffed you? Just because you've paid in the past doesn't mean that you're sure to pay next time. Anyway, you ran away from home, right? You need to take better care of your money. I felt a strange sense of comfort in the fact that her lecture wasn't about my running away itself. And overall, I agreed with the idea that people should take care of their money. You don't have to tell me that. Oh, really? The woman shrugged, then carried the ayu jelly from the counter where it just appeared. It was hard to argue with her since I was, in fact, wasting money here. But I was confident that I had more money than anyone else my age. What's more, I'd never gone on a wild spending spree before. The magic of compound interest made the world go round. If 1 mule today turned into 10 in a year, then 3 years after that it'd be 10,000. Compare that to what my dad would make in his entire life, earning roughly the same amount every month from sweating in the fields to grow vegetables. In 5 years, there'd be no way I'd be eating in a lame restaurant like this. The woman might be making fun of me now, but I'll bet I'll eventually be wearing a stylish suit and living in a high-rise apartment in Newton City. And of course, I was not going to stop there. That wasn't where my dream ended. It's where it began. If you're some rich actor, you might be able to bask in space on the opposite side of the moon with some beautiful woman by your side. But if you were one of the wealthiest here in this lunar city, you could go even further. You can make all the emotions and desires you feel when you look up at space come true. I ate the sweet and sour clump of ayu jelly, and as I looked at my screen to choose the tree that would grow me money, I was immersed in a familiar daydream. This place was the forefront of humanity, a golden city of wealth and prosperity. I would run through the city's gates. I'd outwit the geniuses and prodigies from Earth to take my place there at last. I silently got myself worked up during this quiet, early afternoon in a Chinese restaurant. I moved my touch mouse back and forth just as I brought up the display for the prominent, even on the moon, investment bank E.J. Rockberg. Customers enter the store. I thought it was strange that customers would come in at this hour and raise my head. At that moment, a feeling ran through my body like an ice cube had just been stuck up my asshole. What kind of feeling is that? How would I even know that? How would anyone that's watching this relate to that? No. Oh, that's why. Welcome. 2, please. Yes, sir. Table for 2. The woman said this in her usual carefree voice, but the words barely entered my ear. I lowered my cap even further over my eyes and hunched over, trying to hide in the reflection of my PC display. Looking at their clothes, it was unmistakable. The pair who had just arrived at the table on the other side of the restaurant were police officers on patrol. I'll get the tent sheet on. Same here. Very well, to attention. Let me try that again. Very well, to attention. It seems like they just chose this place randomly during their patrol, but who likes eating in the same restaurant as the cops? Not only that, I think these two are the ones who were at the Big Bull Cafe, according to my faint memory. The patrol route for the police didn't include going to the cafe, so someone had to have tipped them off somehow. I was not some sort of invisible man, so someone surely must have been seeing me hanging around a weird place at a weird time. Whoever that was, if they told the police that there was a shady-looking kid around, there'd only be a handful of places they search. It was totally possible that these two were looking for me. That might also be the reason that the policeman facing me was glancing at me now and then. But to think he'd take off and leave us on this wild goose chase. The police with his back to me suddenly spoke up. The cop, looking at me, waited a moment before replying to his partner. Well, it was just some big shots looking at maps all day. Who decided how wide our area of jurisdiction was to be? There wasn't any public survey system in that area either. But I think that if it were hiding somewhere, it would have been in that net joint. The storekeeper there was pretty The storekeeper there was a pretty sketchy-looking guy as well. Maybe we should grab him and rough him up a little. Don't judge by appearances. He ended up having a pretty impressive history, didn't he? Yes, I guess. Man, I should have studied harder at the academy. I never thought I'd be assigned to the boonies like this. Location has nothing to do with it. You just need to carry out your duties. You're very right about that. So they really were looking for someone. But the owner, that Serrault guy, had an impressive history. I couldn't even begin to imagine. Wait, which one is this voice? What do we do after this? If we go by the book, we start the usual thing with questioning people. His co-worker facing me took a sip of water and went quiet, as if in thought. I got the feeling that he was taking a good, hard look at me. In my mind, I was praying that they gave up on the questioning and just went back to their nest. If we call in for reinforcements, we're just going to get laughed at. Looks like we've got no choice. Anyway, our duty is to keep public order. Cracks in public safety begin in the smallest of places. Even if it is just one boy, we can't just let him get away. Well, damn. My heart felt like it might jump right out of my mouth. Now there was no mistake. They were tipped off by someone and were out looking for me. Lunar cities were nuts about keeping public order. Even in the Red Valley, where suspicious guys wandered the streets, there was not even the faintest trace of any real danger. It was just a degenerate, pleasure-seeking town. Everyone knew just how risky committing an act of physical violence was in a place this small. After all, if you were deported by the Residential Management Court, there'd be no question that you'd never be able to come back. The only people exempt from that form of punishment were people who were born on the moon. Even then, if you so committed a second-degree murder or worse, it was not so certain. Of course, I wouldn't be subject to the penal code just because I ran away from home, but the overall zeal for maintaining public order would mean that I'd be sent back home. After that, I'd probably be forced to report to a local facility every day until I became an adult. And while that happened, I'd grow further and further away from the front line of the world and would eventually be swallowed up by the masses. I fixed my darting eyes on my hands and thought desperately, how should I escape from here? If I grabbed my PC and ran, the plug would get in the way. Do I unplug the adapter from my PC, then take off running with just the unit? My identity could be given away by the adapter, but it was still better than being captured. Or should I stay still right here and wait for them to leave? I'd like to do that if it's possible, but that officer staring at me seemed like he was about to stand up and say, "Hey, you!" to me at any moment. My cold sweat dripped onto my keyboard. Wait, that woman couldn't have ratted me out, would she? As I thought of this possibility, I was tortured by a desperate rage. But suddenly a shadow appeared on the table. It was that woman. "More water?" She poured me a refill. I cursed her in my heart, wishing that she wouldn't draw their attention towards me at a time like this, and my lowered face was totally flushed. But a piece of paper with words written on it was attached to the side of the cup she clunked down on the table. Get ready. I nearly raised my head, but the woman quickly left my table before I could make the mistake. I set my computer to mute and shut it down so that they didn't notice that my OS was no longer running. I'll give up on the adapter. I quietly pulled the cord out of the main unit and confirmed the location of my bag. I already used the money I always kept in my jacket pocket at the cafe, so I'll use what I had in my back pocket. There was a line in an old Earth Mafia movie that I saw at home that said that a $10 bill kept in your clothes was a business card to God. It certainly kept you well prepared. I quietly placed a 10 bill on my hand, pricked up my ears, and waited for the right timing. The policeman had been staring at me non-stop. He was definitely suspicious at me. With the clang, the policeman started to get up. "Tension up!" At that moment, the tension was placed on the counter loudly. "Huh? What's wrong?" The cop called out to his partner, who was now halfway out of his seat. "Is it the guy behind me?" Wait. That's the wrong voice, isn't it? Whoops. Right after he said this, the woman's voice rang energetically throughout the room. "Thanks for waiting. Here's your tension on." "Huh? Oh, yeah." The one with his back to me turned his attention back to the food. The other one was looking at me, but because a woman was standing next to his corner seat, he was stuck in his seat and couldn't get out. Now was the moment. It was my only chance. "The payment's on the table." I said that as quietly as possible and left the 10 bill on the table. "Hey, you! Wait!" The officer clearly told me to stop, but I just gave him a sideways glance as I walked quickly towards the exit. It was only a distance of 3 steps, but it felt like forever. The yelling officer attempted to chase after me, but with the woman in his way, he couldn't get out. "Nyah!" A shrill scream from the woman, who lost her balance after being pushed by the police officer. She turned to the officer still sitting in a chair, and the piping hot tension on looked like it was about to spill. Acting out of natural self-defense, the officer caught the bowl in his hands. By that time, I had successfully exited the store. I took off running as if nothing in the world mattered. Yeah, like an ice cube up your butt. That is so weird. Where am I? I spoke to myself out loud to make sure I wasn't in a dream. My throat was dry, though, so it was hard to speak. I cleared my throat a few times and took a deep breath. I hadn't the foggiest idea how I got here. After I left that store, I ran for my life toward the narrowest street I could find. I thought the police would be running right behind me if I looked back, so I did nothing but run forward, not looking back a single time. After that, I must have found a handy-looking tunnel to hide in and then fallen asleep inside of it. The pain throughout my body must have been sleeping in the same position the entire time. Is this a sewer? In general, any public made out of the moon's unique limestone, any place made out of the moon's unique limestone was a public facility. This place also had a cool, rough limestone floor, as well as matching walls. Between that and the sound of running water, this place had to be a sewer. Right then, I noticed a slight glow around me. Whoa. Is that from the exit? It seemed like I was nearly passed out, and while I had no idea how long I'd been asleep, it must be night by now. The fact that the lamps were lit made me certain of it. Slowly and carefully, I began to walk. Suddenly, the road turned into a dead end. I could see that the light source on the other side of the wall was that of the wall that I now faced, which was even taller than me. Huh? I thought I could gasp because it looked as though something on the ceiling had moved. But the only things that were strange were wavering lights and shadows. Like a small bug attracted to the light, I took my bag off and climbed the wall. Then, when I saw what was on the other side of the wall, I let out a much bigger gasp. Gasp! Holy! Before me was a spacious, huge atrium. I was near the top part of the atrium, and I could see more passages on its opposite and right sides. However, the most amazing part was the waterway passing through the base of the atrium. Clear water flowed through it like gentle rapids, and most of the sound of water must have originated from there. The bottom of the reservoir glowed a bluish color. Occasionally, fish would move, and its shadow on the ceiling would swim as well. As I gazed at this scene, amazed that places like this existed on the moon, I suddenly heard a rustling sound behind me. Huh? Is it an ice cube? As I turned back in surprise, I forgot that I was balancing on top of a wall. I immediately lost my balance and fell on my butt. Ouch. All of a sudden, I saw a pitch-black figure in front of me rifling through my bag. Hey, whoa, what are you doing? Not only had my life's wages and labor gone into that PC, but it also carried 1 billion mule dream that I knew I was going to make a reality. My body moved before I even had time to think, and I tackled the figure. I threw myself at the shadow, covering its face with my left hand and aiming for its throat with my right. It was a technique that an immigrant from Earth taught me when I was growing up in a village full of muscleheads. It was an incredibly useful technique, and it had to be. It was used by someone who came from a place where a failed government was replaced by military forces who had seized the UN food supplies to be used as aid and would toss them around as if they were feeding animals. Because I was looking at the light coming from the waterway, my eyes still weren't used to the darkness. The passage was narrow though, so I couldn't miss. Not only that, but my opponent was way weaker than I had thought, tumbling over as soon as I connected. Right at that moment, I saw a small, plank-like object fall onto the floor. The glowing object looked like it could be some sort of computer terminal. That's my computer! However, I was too busy thinking about punching this idiot who was searching through my bag. On top of the bastard's body, who was either not resisting or too surprised to, I kept my grip on the throat and balled my other hand to a tightest fist I could make. Die! I froze, my fist still overhead. Oh, snap! You about to punch a girl, and you choked her. I raised my fist and was about to drop my iron hammer of fury. I began to speak. A woman? Right then, my vision went dark. I only then realized I had been punched in the nose right after I was woken up by being shoved on the chest into the small side wall of the passage. Crap! Okay. Voice. Hitting me out of nowhere. No, I can't do that. Hitting me out of nowhere. What the hell is wrong with you? The pitch black shadow, or rather the pitch black woman, began to speak. Black hair, black eyes, black clothes, black skirt, and black shoes. Her ankles peeking out from the hem of her skirt were black too. Even her stockings were black. Dressed in black from top to bottom, her white face seemed to float in the darkness. She stared at me with her thin black eyes as she was staring at a bug. My head was seething both from the shock of being punched and my anger at the outrageous situation. What the hell? You're the one who's going through my stuff. What's wrong with you? That's not true. What would you do if this broke? The girl looked around, then, while still sitting, she reached out her arms and grabbed the plink-like device that fell earlier. She brushed away the dirt and began to use it, probably to see if it still worked. But anyway, what kind of mentality would lead someone to verbally attack me after hitting me? This was why I hated women. I'm just doing this because I was asked to. Wait, no? Let's try this again. I'm just doing this because I was asked to. Why do I have to be the subject to this? She seemed to mutter this to herself. Disheveled from the fall, she gathered her long black hair into a bundle of darkness in one hand and straightened it neatly in an instant. It looked like a cable harness. Found him. Hurry up and get out. Wait, found him. Hurry up and get here. I'm in the side passages on the top level. Still seated, the girl began to talk. That thing might also work as a communication device. Who in the world is she? Was she searching for me? Or was she interested in what I was carrying? If that were the case, then I wouldn't hold back. Thankfully, I was in a dark, deserted, and hard-to-see place. I might have lost a fight just now, but if I went at her with all my strength, I knew I could win. Maybe I should take some naked pictures of her and post them online once I was done. Whoa, dude! Whoa! Not cool, man! Not cool. That is just wrong on so many levels. I dislike the character now. What the hell? With that in mind, her arrogant attitude and expression might come in handy. Right as I went to move my back off the wall, I heard a voice. I hear you. Wait 1 minute. The floors get complicated around here. As soon as I heard the voice, I felt the dark urge in my chest disappear. I heard that voice before. It was the voice of the woman... Oh crap. Voice of the woman from the Chinese restaurant who allowed me to escape. Hurry up, Lisa. The girl spoke curtly into the terminal. I feel like I'm losing brain cells just being around this guy. I was dumbfounded for a moment and then glared at the girl. Huh? The girl glanced at me and then quickly turned around. She acted as if she heard a stray dog barking outside her window. She was clearly acting in the intolerable way that only women can, making it seem as though no insult or abuse hurled her way could possibly affect her. While I was the type to get really angry when something I say is ignored, I was not even enough of an adult to suppress my irritation. I kept glaring at her, not caring how lame I might be looking. Still glaring at her, I pulled my back towards me and made sure that nothing had been taken out. Nothing seemed wrong. Only there seemed to be something like a piece of dried macaroni at the bottom of my bag. It was partially metallic and a small green rice-sized light was flickering on and off. Around the time that I figured out that it was a homing device, much like one you see on a pet dog, I heard footsteps from the other side of the passage. The woman who appeared shortly after was unmistakably the one from the Chinese restaurant. While she was irritating, she also saved my ass. So this was Lisa. Phew, finally found you. I told you the reception... Oh wait, whoops. I told you the reception is bad around here. The girl in black replied. But I found you. It just took a little while though. The woman wiped her forehead, which made her finally realize that her hair was in a mess. I'm amazed you got all the way here to a place like this. Were you here the whole time? While the woman talked, she took the flat device from the sitting girl. After inputting a few commands, the macaroni-shaped light in my hand stopped blinking and turned yellow. Is this a tracking device? Not answering the woman's question, I asked one back. Yep. I put it there when you were bending over to plug your adapter in. You were busy you were busy being charmed by my legs, so it was easy to do. I wasn't charmed by anything. I shot back. This only caused a seated black-clad girl to shoot me a disdainful look over her shoulder. Well, I apologize for putting a homing device in your bag without asking. No matter what the reason, It isn't a nice thing to have to happen to you. Her easily offered apology left me no room to complain. Only there was no way that someone who put a tracking device in someone else's bag could be an upstanding person. Considering this, I started to feel like her saving me at the restaurant might have been due to some ulterior motive. In any case, I was in the back corner of a deserted sewer. What I had just thought of doing in my rage to the annoying girl in black might now be done to me. You deserve it! Who the hell thinks like that? That's just wrong! You see, geniuses and the rich were gathered in the lunar cities, and most of them could be called extremely talented. However, they often said that the line between brilliance and madness was paper thin. There was no sort of stories along the lines of mad scientists performing unspeakable experiments on a nightly basis, or of wealthy perverts committing sickening acts one after the other. What the hell? I looked up at the woman, the shaking reflection from the water dimly reflecting on her face, and grabbed my bag with one hand. I was careful enough to spread my money across different pockets, so of course, I carried at least a small weapon. But regardless of gender, the one over there was taller than me. Gravity was weak on the moon, so if you thought about it as a simple action-reaction, there wasn't much difference here between a man's and woman's punches and kicks. In that case, it came down to either wrestling or stiffening your body in one place and slamming it in your opponent while conserving as much physical energy as possible. That was where the length of your limbs made a difference. Not only that, there was someone right next to me who most certainly was not on my side. I recall the atrium I had looked into. With my leg strength, couldn't I just jump over the wall all the way over to the other side? Or if I made sure to land in the water, wouldn't I be okay? While my mind was whirring through the possibilities, I gulped and said the following. Why are you doing this? Was you saving me a trap? I wasn't sure if I should say that first. Say that much. But before I could make a decision, that woman spoke first. The woman smiled as if she was stumped and bent her head to the sides. She then continued. For fun? My back stiffened with a shudder. I had the feeling that I was going to be killed. You gotta be kidding me. I still had dreams, and I just barely gotten to the starting line. I stood up suddenly and put all my strength into my thigh muscles. She spoke right as my body began to fly up. But, I mean, you wouldn't want to get falsely arrested, right? Unable to drain all the strength into my thighs, my body floated as I hopped lightly backwards. With a slow, gentle trajectory, my back tapped against the wall. Wait, wrongly arrested? That's right. Those two officers were chasing after a boy aged 15 to 17, height around 160 centimeters, slender black hair, black eyes, Asian features, wearing a black backpack. But... okay. But isn't that him? The girl in the black replied to this description. And that's what I thought. That's what I thought too. But after taking to them some more, I realized that it was someone else. I was slightly confused. When did I get asked that? That woman had known for a long time that I was a runaway. I'd been going in and out of the restaurant for a while, and I met her a number of times. Running away from home as a minor was technically against the law. While it was not something you'd be punished for, it was assumed that public order would be deteriorated by jobless, penniless minors walking the streets, and so they were cracked down on. That's why the woman's words didn't make any sense to me. Confused, and with my back still against the wall, I heard the woman let out a small sigh and continue to talk. Those two officers weren't looking for just any runaway kid. They were after a thief. Thief? That's right. But well, considering his MO and the circumstances, I could see how someone like you could be the suspect. Hearing this, I was reminded of how persistent the woman was when it came to the most random things. And that's why you wouldn't stop asking me whether or not I had lunch. Exactly. The other day, someone stiffed a nearby restaurant on the bill. According to eyewitnesses, the suspect looked just like you, as usual. But well, I didn't think that someone who would order Ayu jelly with a carefree, satisfied expression on his face, right after gobbling up a crab-fried rice, would do something like that, you know? Slightly miffed, I glared back at her. I wouldn't do something dirty like that over something like 10 moles. Of course not. I checked with Sorrel too. Oh, and I made sure to hold on to your change and your adapter. That made me feel a little relieved. The adapter was especially important. If you were smart enough, you could do just about anything with an electrical appliance, so most purchases required showing personal identification. If my adapter were to get returned to the police as a lost article, they'd figure out my identity in a snap. I heard that on Earth, even a child could anonymously buy parts that could easily be made into a cutting-edge missile. Tony Stark! Now that was a scary place. So, well, that's what's going on. You should come back to my place. What? Honestly, I could not understand what she was saying. What? Wait, who's Lisa again? Oh, she's Lisa, crap. Are you thinking of going back to that cafe? I asked Seralt, and he said that 4 stern-looking guys are taking turns patrolling the place now. It was not a result that was hard to predict. Only if that's the case, then I'd be going back to sleeping on the hard ground of some deserted area. To be honest, doing that took a big toll on my body. Not being able to get a calm night's sleep was the worst part of this police patrol. As far as getting sleep, the Big Bull Cafe had roof and running water, and if you said that you wanted to pay a premium fee, you get a sense of security that came with knowing that you'd be alerted if something dangerous started to go down. I think that's normal for businesses to alert their patrons to not hang out in that place or to alert them of something bad happening. I think that's like required by law. You have to pay premium for that, dude. The question was whether or not that's a reason to just jump on an invitation of some suspicious woman who put tracking devices in people's bags for fun. Even in stock trading, a too good to be true balance sheet was sometimes used to prime the pump right up before a huge crash. Yep, happens all the time. I understand why you might be suspicious, but I just told you, right? It's like a hobby for me. The woman told me this and I remained doubtful. Bringing runaways like me into your home was your hobby? She's either a pervert with some bizarre hobbies, or could it be my charm? I think I basically know what you're thinking, but... The woman then laughed in amazement. Unfortunately for you, boys younger than me aren't my thing, unless they're holding giant, blood-soaked scissors. Whoa, what? Well, then what? What are you after? Is it money? As soon as I said these words, a smile disappeared from the woman's eyes. What? Did she get mad just from that? While I had the feeling that I already said a lot of other things that should have made her angry, I was so surprised at the sudden change. Watching my face, the woman must have realized a change in her own expression. Oh, well, I'm sorry. She spoke in a forced tone, then rubbed the area around her eyes gently with both hands. This completely disarmed and confused me. Not only that, I was faced with the grim reality of not having any place to go. The woman in front of me allowed me to escape from the restaurant, so in that sense, I owed her a lot. I then concluded that aside from the part of being a runaway, I did consider myself a decent human being. You freaking lie! You are not a decent human being! You were thinking about taking nude pictures of that girl and sending it on the internet, you dick queen! You're ruining our lives. So, what's wrong with you, piece of crap? So I should probably be replying with something like this. If I do end up being a burden on you, I won't be able to pay much, you know. While I realized that she wasn't especially interested in my money, I still had enough decency to feel bad about not paying someone who took care of me. That's why I said what I said, but would she understand? As I kept staring at the woman, she finally grinned and nodded. Of course, it'll take a little for food and other costs, but it should still be a lot better than wandering around outside. Oh, and, the woman continued, after all, I took care of Serot as well. Huh? Nothing you should worry about. So, what will you do? To care? What does it mean to care? Did you kill him? There's nothing else I could do. There was only one way I could answer. Thank you. You should be more honest and just say that from the beginning. The woman continued to smile as she said that, but I told her in my head to be more reasonable. Okay. Then let's go back. If it gets much later, I won't have a good excuse to give to the police. Hearing the word police, I nodded and once again recognized the precarious situation I was in. However, while both the woman and I tried to set off, there was someone who wouldn't budge an inch. It was a girl dressed in black. While I wasn't sure if she was listening to my conversation with the woman or not, she had an absent-minded look on her face. What are you doing? The woman asked. It was a very pertinent question. The girl, still not answering, turned her head and stared my way. Her utterly conceited expression immediately reminded me of the irritating argument I had just had with her. What? I said this to her with a voice full of anger. I knew that my remark would be ignored or snubbed, but she was being so upsetting that I just came out anyway. As expected, the girl didn't turn away snootily, with all the annoying elegance of some sort of princess. Hagana, you're not trying to throw a tantrum like some child, are you? The woman used the name Hagana to refer to the girl. Still snootily turning away, the girl called Hagana gave no reply. She gives no Fs. With this, I was roughly able to guess what was going on. The woman inviting me to her house most likely meant that I would be living under the same roof as this obnoxious girl named Hagana. Naturally, I was upset that I'd been openly rejected by her, but taking a step back, I suppose I could understand how Hagana felt. This put me at a bit of a loss. Should I get angry, or should I respond like an adult? Only this wasn't the time or place to dawdle. As I was about to say that I didn't even mind sleeping in the garden, she spoke first. I can't stand up. What? Hagana looked up at the one who replied to her and continued. I can't put any strength into my hips. It's because he tackled me. Hagana looked at me as she said this. The woman looked at me. You tackled her? Really? I vaguely recall something like this happening in kindergarten or elementary school. A teacher so-and-so tackled someone or another. But I was not one to use violence without reason. If the girl in black looked over in response to a sound and saw someone searching through her own bag, wouldn't she have done the same thing? Right as I went to say this, I'm faced with the fact that I tackled a delicate girl, and began to realize that I had done something that was hard to make an excuse for. Ugh. Women were such unfair creatures. I cursed the black cat and white-skinned Hagana as a shrewd tactician. I guess so. Wait, no, but... Well, I can imagine the situation. In that case, in the fight, both parties are to blame. The woman said this, then pointed at Hagana. Hagana looked at the tip of the finger as if it was covered in some kind of sweet syrup. If you can't walk, then have him carry you on his back. The woman pointed her finger towards her. Still attracted by the finger, Hagana's gaze shifted to me. Whoa, wait. How is that punishment for the both of us? That doesn't make any sense. While I protested, the woman raised her eyebrows ever so slightly as if to insist that I listen to her. This was blatant favoritism, I thought. After all, the person that she's saying has to be carried must also, I began to think, then realized, in a fight, both parties are to blame. Yeah. Okay, hurry up if you understand. This wasn't just some ordinary woman. Hagana also made a face as though she had come to some sort of realization, then nodded. I sighed, put my bag on the front side, and walked up towards Hagana. She was sitting down, so her face was in somewhat erotic position. What? Erotic? Erotic? Hagana? Okay, so let's Google what an erotic face is. Just Google that. Hagana hadn't made particularly expressive faces to begin with. and stared at me motionlessly. Sadistic desires began to well up in me, thinking that I'd feel a lot better if I just slapped the side of her face as hard as I could. What is wrong with this character? However, I felt as though if I dwelt on these thoughts for too long, I might actually slap her. So I quickly crouched and turned my back to her. I wasn't sure how long it'd take, but living under the same roof as her seemed like it'd be a pain. At least until the friction between us settled down, I should avoid any potential points of conflict. Come on, Hagina. Turn your arms. That's right. I tried to give Hagina, who seemed to be telling the truth about not being able to stand, a hand and climbing on my back. Hagina's thin arms wrapped around my neck and then stiffened awkwardly. Actually, it seemed like this girl had never climbed on someone's back. Hagina, you're not going to be dangling from his neck, you're getting on his back. The woman explained, and after a bit of silence, Hagina shifted her body onto my back. I swear, every time. Okay, finally, the two small but soft objects touched my back. As I was responsible for carrying her, I wrapped my hands around the bottom of Hagina's thighs. I was filled with a strange thought. So this is what legs and stockings feels like. Well played, good sir. Well played. Well, shit. It's not bad. Oh my god. What? What? Okay, stand. Another part of me nearly rose as well, but with a quick start, I put my strength into my two legs. I hadn't been skipping my resistance training, so I could pretty easily carry up to around 5 times my weight. One slender girl is practically nothing to me. Oh, big man, think on the moon's gravity. Oh, it's stronger than I thought. The praise didn't feel too bad. Alright, then let's go. The woman began to walk. I tried to follow behind her, but Hagina stopped me. Wait. The woman turned back and we both looked at Hagina's face. Hers was right next to mine. Suddenly I smelled something sweet and fruit-like for a moment. What is it? As the woman replied, Hagina raised her head a little while still on my back and replied quietly. He really stinks. The woman blankly looked at Hagina, then at me. A strange, cheerful smile began to appear on her face. In a fight, both parties are to blame. I'm gonna make her bow to me one day. At that moment, I had another item on my list of ambitions. Alright. Okay. So, that's, we're gonna leave off for World End Economica for this episode. I hope you all enjoy the new characters. I'm liking Lisa's personality. Lisa seems to be a headstrong, like, cheerful personality that sort of extrovert, basically, an extrovert. While the other chick seems to be an introvert. But I guess they complement themselves well. I really hate my current character, Yagashina, or whatever his name is. My god! What is up with his really evil thoughts? I feel like I'm gonna become evil at this rate. I don't want to be evil. Like, there's already no. I'm gonna put if I could, I will get Silkysaurus, the Tyrannosaurus Rex of my my mascot, and punch him with a silky punch. Just punch him with a silky punch. It's like a fist of love, except more dangerous. Silky punch. Alright, I hope you guys enjoyed. Please leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you want to see more of this, or if you want to see any of my other playlists or videos. I'm currently also playing Dread Out, so hopefully I can finish Dread Act 2 very soon. Because I don't want to be scared anymore. That game. Alright. Well, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time, alright? Peace out! Yo! My back.